this video, I'm going to show you some strategies to check your data for data entry errors. After all your data has been entered, it is very important that you go back and you check your data. Having errors in your data will be catastrophic to your analyses. If you have a small data set, the best thing to do is to go back and look at every single case and make sure that the numbers you entered here match the original data. Now this can be extremely tedious if you have a very large data set. If that's the case, what I recommend is that you actually randomly select a portion of your cases to manually examine. And then if you find errors, you go back and you double check everything. I know, it sounds really tedious, but again, data entry errors, catastrophic. The final thing that you can do is run a quick analysis in SPSS to see if there are any data that's out of range. Now this is not going to catch a simple error. So for example, for case number 2, if somebody entered for this first question, if they entered a 2 instead of a 3, you're not going to catch that with SPSS. That's why looking manually is so important. But checking with SPSS is also a good idea. To check for data that's out of range, go to Analyze on the menu bar, Descriptive Statistics, and then Frequencies. And then I'm just going to put all my key variables over to the variable box. So I just selected them and click this arrow and sent them over. And then I'm going to click OK. I don't need any statistics, nothing fancy. I just want to see what's out of range. So I click OK, and now I get some output. Now I just go through and I look at what seems out of the ordinary. For example, research methods, a good learning experience. So this is question 1. You notice there's a number 9. 9 is not an option for this question, so I know that that's a data entry error. For the second question, I'm afraid of research methods. Nothing is out of order. Same for look forward, love research methods. Now with gender, I see that somebody entered a 30. Now I know that the options were 1, 2, and 3, so 30 is clearly an error. And then age, 19 to 58, that sounds reasonable. If there had been a 2-year-old or an 180-year-old, I might be suspicious of that data. But these ages all seem reasonable. Now you might wonder, what do I do once I find these errors? If it's a small data set, I can just manually find them. So just looking really quickly, I can see my 9 here for my first question that doesn't belong, and my 30 here. Now, if I had a very large data set, going through and scanning hundreds of cases would be really horrible. So what I could do in that case is I could sort my data. And I would just go to Data, Sort Cases, and I would sort by the first question. And if I wanted to find something that was too high, I would do descending and click OK. And now you notice my data has been rearranged so that this one that's an error is first. Now, if I had my raw data, I would be able to find my case 7 and see, okay, somebody entered a 9, but it really should have been a 4. And then I could make that adjustment here. And same for gender. So again, I could, if I wanted to, sort my data, especially if I had a very large data set, sort it by gender. Again, I'm going to do descending order so that 30 shows up first. Click OK. And then this is case 4. And so I could go to my case 4 and I could see that this person is a male, and that should have been a 1 instead of a 30. And while I'm doing this, by the way, it's a good idea if there's an error to be like, okay, maybe there are other errors, so I want to manually look to see that everything else matches up. Now, if this data was destroyed in a fire or burned in some kind of cult ritual or whatever, and you did not have access to the raw data, if you find a data entry error such as that 30, you have no idea what this person's gender is. So I would just delete it and treat it as missing data, which is that little dot there. That's really all there is to it. Manually check whenever possible, do a random check if you've got a large data set, and then also run some analyses in SPSS to identify any data that's out of range and make corrections as you can. In the next few videos, I'll walk you through the steps of creating scale scores.